Let's look at one of the most difficult of IELTS academic reading questions, the yes, no, not given, or the true, false, not given. Before we look at an example, I want you to think about how you approach each yes, no, not given question. You can ask yourself, does the statement completely agree with the text? Completely agree with the text. If so, then the answer is yes or true. Does the statement have exactly the same meaning as the text? If so, the answer is yes or true. Does the statement contradict or say the opposite of the text in any way? The answer is no or false. So it's very important that you check every part, every noun, every idea, every verb of the statement. Let's look at the first example. Just look at the question here. Dense water travels more slowly than warmer surface water. So imagine you're in the middle of the test. The reading that you read must show a comparison between dense water and surface water, and the text must also talk about slower movement of water or slower travelling of water. Here is the text. Have a look at it carefully. It's called The Changing Ocean. I'm sure you can see the word dense. I'm sure you can see the word warmer. You can also see surface. You can see sink, which would mean lower, lower to the bottom of the ocean. You can see the idea of travelling. Here as well, then travel to warmer equatorial regions. So, does the writer talk about dense water travelling? Yes. Does the writer compare the speed of travelling and the temperature? No. Therefore, the answer is not given. It is possible that dense water travels more slowly, but the text does not tell us. The answer is not given. Here is the next one. The question is at the bottom. Some filmmakers have presented an accurate view of lemming behaviour. Don't worry about the meaning of lemming. You will see in the text that it must be an animal. What about the meaning of the word accurate? Accurate means real, a true presentation of reality. Here is the text. And in the second part of the text, you can see there is specific reference to one film crew in northern Canada who did not film these animals in a real situation. They paid some children to collect the lemmings, and then they filmed them in such a way that many appeared to be a plague. Many appeared to be in very, very large numbers. And then they tumbled over the edge of the riverbank. Let's look at the question again. Some filmmakers have presented an accurate view of lemming behaviour. Does the writer refer to lemming behaviour? Yes. Does the writer talk about accurate or inaccurate views of lemming behaviour? Yes, there is one very clear example of an inaccurate presentation. Does this mean that there are no examples of accurate views presented by filmmakers? We don't know. The writer doesn't say, and therefore the answer is not given. Just look at it again. Here is another not given example. I also want to point out, for true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, it's often easier to read the questions first. Here is the question. Researchers in the 1990s suggested that the notion that social rather than physical factors better explain differences in book carrying style. So you only look for the section or sections, discussion research in the 1990s. Let's have a look at the text. Think about physical or social differences explaining why people carry books differently. In this part of the text, we can see many cases of physical differences. We've got feminine, and masculine, gender specific, females and males. Males are uniform, which means males carry books the same way. Females are more apt to vary. Females have a greater variety of book carrying style. Does the text mention social factors at all? No. So the writer states that yes, the physical factors between males and females do not explain the book carrying differences. But the writer does not say which other factor might hold the explanation. So he doesn't suggest social factors. The answer is not given. Here is a different one. Although this is from the same text about book carrying. This time let's read the text first. Wilberberg and Joe, in making the first large-scale observational study since Howard and White, found that women of university age and older were as likely to use type 2 methods as type 1. Observing some 3,750 university students and adult public library users in Holland and Belgium, the researchers found that while 92% of males exhibited type 2 behaviour, only 52% of females used type 1 methods. Some 47% carried books in the manner of type 2. Most interestingly, of this latter proportion, more than 3/4 used style E. Here is the question. In the Wilberberg and Joe study, the majority of women using type 2 methods use style E. Find type 2 and find style E. And now let's check, does every single part of the question match the text? It is the Wilberberg and Joe study, so that matches. do many women use type 2? Yes, it's 47%. It's a small majority use type 1, but still many use type 2. So do the majority of type 2 women use style E? Yes, more than 3/4. So the answer is yes. Now this is the same text about book carrying behaviour. Wilberberg and Joe's findings weaken Howard and White's conclusions about gender-specific book-carrying behaviour. Let's read that again. Wilberberg and Joe's findings weaken, make weak, Howard and White's conclusions about gender-specific book-carrying behaviour. I'll just let you read the text. Now, this one, you should not waste any time in the text because the words thrown into doubt match weaken. So, Wilberberg and Joe did a study in 1991. Chadamitsky agrees with Wilberberg and Joe. And both of them, Chadamitsky and others, which include Wilberberg and Joe, weaken this idea of gender-specific book-carrying behaviour. So the answer is yes. You can read this in the first 2 lines and you just have to check the researchers' names and you should be confident. Here is a different text. Europeans learned all of what they knew of edible wild plants from Aborigines. This word all is very important. Europeans learned everything about edible wild plants from Aborigines. Here is the text. Look at the last sentence. It is possible the edibility of some native plants used by the Aborigines was discovered independently by the European settlers or their descendants. This means that some of the information they know about edible wild plants was not gained from Aborigines, but from other sources. So did the Europeans learn from the Aborigines? Yes. But did they learn everything, all from the Aborigines? No. The answer is no. And this is a good strategy to learn for IELTS reading. Beware. Pay attention to absolute words like none, all, 100%, nobody, never, at all times. These types of words are absolutes and they're very rarely true. Thank you for watching this presentation. I would like to do the right thing and draw your attention to the following books: IELTS Express Upper Intermediate Course Book and IELTS to Success.